Zombies make marvelous antagonists. Symbolic, disgusting, terrifying, and sometimes humorous, they've been a part of the video game landscape for decades, so long that they've carved out their own subgenre, the zombie game. These shambling, brain-eating undead have been important to some of gaming's most notable narratives and innovations. Here are 13 of the best zombie games ever made. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a bizarre, colorful, and expansive SNES cartridge from the golden days of LucasArts. It's a wickedly funny game that relies on adorable and bizarre animation for most of the laughs, and the delightful cartoon enemies are half the fun. Ska Studios' twin-stick zombie shooter only cost $1, and it sold hundreds of thousands of copies on 3 merits. Its value pricing, some awesomely frantic arcade action in the vein of Robotron, and one of the most bodacious theme songs in game history. Seriously, the song alone makes the game worth playing. Combine some of Minecraft's greatest strengths, like scavenging for materials in an open world, item crafting, and scary nocturnal monsters, with solid hand-to-hand combat, a fun and speedy traversal system, and grappling hooks. That's Dying Light in a nutshell: zombies and grappling hooks. It's a match made in video game heaven. Think of Urban Dead as Animal Crossing for the undead, but online, persistent, text-based, and completely social. No graphics to speak of, no NPCs, just thousands of real-world players surviving as scavengers or hunting down their former allies as newborn zombies. Urban Dead is nearly a decade old, but its innovations are still strikingly unique. World War II, zombies, and multiplayer shooters, together at last. Nazis have long been associated with the occult, both in reality and popular fiction, and Treyarch's decision to go all in on the campy grindhouse aesthetic changed the face of multiplayer shooters. Zombies helped lighten the mood in a series that was increasingly mired in its own self-importance, reminding players, critics, and creators that it is all a game. The survival genre owes a great debt to DayZ, which began life as a mod for military simulator Arma 2. DayZ contrasted the surrealism of a zombie infestation with the hyperrealism of exposure, infection, hunger, and the degeneration of human nature in the face of disaster. You simply never knew whether the person you met next was out to help you or murder you. Turns out the zombies are rarely the real monsters.
John!
What is going on? What the hell is wrong with you? Crazy old bastard!
How do you make your surprisingly successful open-world cowboy game even better? Release a reimagining of the Western drama where all the characters you know and love now eat the flesh of the living. Undead Nightmare was pure zombie-blasting bliss with a healthy dose of supernatural Armageddon to boot, setting the gold standard for single-player DLC. It remains a standout example of reimagined excellence. Left 4 Dead pitted teams of 4 allies against mobs of zombies ruled by an invisible enemy, the innovative AI Director, a carefully constructed protocol designed to dynamically influence the game as it unfolded. The AI Director worked to create a constant sense of danger, tweaking the action on the fly to keep things feeling exciting, but never allowing the challenge to dip into the impossible. Yes, the clickers are technically big fungus people, but let's be real. They're zombies. And yes, this is largely a game about throwing bottles and bricks at people, but who cares? It's scary, it's heartbreaking, it's infuriating, and it's beautiful. A generation after launch, The Last of Us remains a benchmark against which great video game drama is compared. Planescape Torment is a deeply biting and tragic RPG that turns practically every trope and convention of the genre on its head. It's a game about being immortal, crammed with more undead than you can shake a severed limb at, including zombies assigned to alternately sad and hilarious purposes. Your best friend is literally a disembodied skull. Planescape is just too good to miss.
Oh, man. Who are you? Oh, you must be the new guy.
Resident Evil 2 is a triumph of survival horror, a sprawling, weirdly compelling epic that somehow managed to overcome its famously lackluster controls. RE2 allowed you to experience a single terrifying night through the unique perspective of 2 victims, their occasionally overlapping paths both snaking toward horrific discoveries in a city torn apart by an unleashed bioweapon. The original Resident Evil doesn't boast quite the scope of its sprawling sequel, but the tighter, almost claustrophobic design of the mansion often works to heighten the horror. The constant threat of the fearsome, double reanimated Crimson Heads in areas you've previously cleared fuels a compounding sense of dread that you're in continual zombie danger no matter how heavily armed you become. The legendary, cheesy dialogue is icing on the cake. Carly will remember that. Oh, what a gut punch. Telltale's The Walking Dead made us giggle a little and made us cry a lot. Through the masterfully written inaugural season, we met flawed characters we loved or loathed, and then had them stripped away from us one by one. The Walking Dead Season 1 helped kick off a revival of adventure game storytelling, which continues to influence game design today. Telltale may be gone, but their horror masterpiece remains undead in our hearts. Those are IGN's top 10 zombie games of all time. Let us know your favorites in the comments, and for everything zombies and horror, keep it here at IGN.